Have you ever walked into a meeting, looked around the room, and thought, everyone here is smarter than me? Sooner or later, they'll realize I don't belong? That creeping fear has a name: imposter syndrome. It's not just self-doubt. It's the persistent belief that your success is undeserved, that you've somehow tricked others into overestimating your abilities. And the truth is, millions of professionals silently carry this weight every day. The irony? Imposter syndrome is most common among high achievers, the very people who have already proven their competence. Studies show that up to 70% of successful professionals have experienced it at some point in their careers. Think about that. Doctors, CEOs, engineers, artists, even Nobel Prize winners. Many of them have wrestled with the same thought: I'm a fraud. Why does this matter? Because living under the shadow of imposter syndrome doesn't just drain confidence. It can hold you back from opportunities, prevent you from sharing your ideas, and even lead to burnout as you overwork to prove yourself. Imagine carrying a mask every single day, terrified it will slip. That's the silent struggle professionals face. But here's the first shift: recognizing imposter syndrome for what it is: a psychological pattern, not a reflection of reality. Your feelings of inadequacy don't mean you are inadequate. They mean your brain has created a false narrative. So the micro-challenge here is this: the next time you hear yourself thinking, I don't belong here, pause and ask, what evidence do I actually have that supports this belief? 9 times out of 10, you'll find the evidence is weak, while the proof of your competence is overwhelming. And that's where the journey begins. Once we understand the mechanics of imposter syndrome, we can start dismantling it. Which brings us to the next part: the psychology behind self-doubt, and why our minds create these illusions in the first place. Why does imposter syndrome take root in the first place? To answer that, we need to dive into the psychology of self-doubt. At its core, imposter syndrome isn't a reflection of your actual skills. It's a distortion of perception. The human brain is wired with a natural negativity bias, which means we pay more attention to our mistakes and shortcomings than to our strengths and achievements. This survival mechanism once kept our ancestors alive, but in the workplace, it can sabotage confidence. Imagine this: you receive 10 compliments on a project and 1 small critique. What does your mind obsess over? The critique. That single detail becomes fuel for the story: I'm not good enough. Over time, these repeated thoughts carve deep grooves in your mental pathways, reinforcing the cycle of self-doubt. Psychologists also point to something called the Dunning-Kruger effect, which flips confidence on its head. People with little skill in an area tend to overestimate their abilities, while experts, those who've mastered their craft, often underestimate themselves. Why? Because the more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know. High achievers often mistake this awareness for incompetence, when in reality, it's a sign of growth and expertise. There's also a social dimension. Many professionals grew up in environments where praise was rare and achievement was expected. In those cases, success feels less like a victory and more like the bare minimum. Add modern workplace pressures, comparison on social media, and cultural standards of perfection, and you have the perfect storm for imposter syndrome to thrive. Here's the practical takeaway. Self-doubt will always whisper, but you don't have to believe it. The micro-challenge here is to separate feelings from facts. The next time you think, I'm not qualified enough for this role, write down 3 concrete accomplishments that prove otherwise. It could be a project you led, a challenge you overcame, or feedback you received. Seeing evidence in black and white helps rewire the brain to recognize reality over fear. Understanding the psychology behind imposter syndrome gives you a crucial advantage: awareness. And awareness is the first step toward change. But knowing why you feel this way is only half the battle. The real breakthrough comes when you start rewriting the inner dialogue that fuels the cycle. And that's exactly what we'll dive into next. If imposter syndrome thrives on negative self-talk, then the battlefield is your inner dialogue. Think about it. Every time you tell yourself, I'm not good enough, your brain listens. Repetition strengthens neural pathways, which means those thoughts become your default setting. The good news? Just like a script can be rewritten, so can the way you talk to yourself. Let's start with awareness. The average person has 60,000 thoughts per day, and psychologists estimate that about 80 of them are negative. Most of the time, these thoughts run on autopilot. The trick is to slow down and notice the words you use when you speak to yourself. Do you say, "I got lucky" when you succeed? Do you downplay your accomplishments by saying, "It was nothing"? These phrases may feel humble, but over time they reinforce the imposter narrative. The shift begins with reframing. Instead of saying, "I just got lucky," replace it with, "I worked hard, and my preparation paid off." Instead of, "I don't belong here," try, "I'm learning, growing, and contributing in my own way." This isn't about blind positivity, it's about anchoring your thoughts in truth. One powerful technique is the evidence journal. Each week, write down 3 things you accomplished and the skills you used to achieve them. When self-doubt creeps in, revisit those notes. It's like building a personal library of proof against your imposter thoughts. Another tool is the third-person perspective. When negative thoughts arise, ask, "Would I say this to a friend?" If the answer is no, then why allow yourself to be spoken to that way? Here's the micro-challenge. For the next 7 days, commit to catching at least 1 negative self-thought per day and rewriting it on the spot. The act of interrupting the pattern and replacing it with a more empowering statement creates new neural connections. Over time, those rewired pathways become stronger than the old imposter script. By shifting your inner dialogue, you begin to weaken the very foundation of imposter syndrome. But words alone aren't enough. You also need strategies that reinforce confidence through action. And that leads us to the next step: practical strategies to build unshakable confidence at work. Words shape belief, but confidence is ultimately built through action. If imposter syndrome makes you feel like you're always faking it, the most effective antidote is to prove to yourself, through small wins, that you belong. Confidence isn't about eliminating fear, it's about acting despite it. One powerful strategy is to set mastery goals instead of performance goals. Performance goals sound like, "I must deliver this project perfectly," or "I'll look incompetent." Mastery goals, on the other hand, sound like, "This project is a chance to learn, improve, and refine my skills." When you shift your focus from perfection to progress, the pressure eases, and your confidence grows naturally. Another strategy is exposure through action. The brain learns by doing. If you've been holding back from speaking up in meetings out of fear, challenge yourself to contribute just 1 point next time, no matter how small. Over time, these micro-actions compound into a track record of participation and impact. Remember, confidence is built in layers, not leaps. Mentorship and feedback also play a crucial role. Often, imposter syndrome blinds us to our strengths, but others can see what we can't. Seek out a trusted mentor, manager, or colleague and ask, "What's one strength you consistently see in me that I might overlook?" That external perspective can become a mirror that reflects back your value when your inner voice tries to deny it. Here's another practical tool: the win file. Create a digital folder or notebook where you store positive feedback, successful project notes, and milestones you've achieved. On tough days, revisit it. It's a psychological anchor, a reminder that your accomplishments are real, not imaginary. And finally, embrace the practice of teaching others. Nothing solidifies your confidence more than sharing your knowledge. When you mentor, train, or guide someone, you realize that what feels basic to you might be life-changing to someone else. That realization dismantles the illusion that you're not enough. Here's your micro-challenge. This week, choose one small, bold action at work that scares you. Whether it's sharing an idea, asking for feedback, or volunteering for a task. Then, reflect on the outcome. You'll often find the fear was louder than the reality. Each step outside your comfort zone builds a foundation of confidence that imposter syndrome can't shake. And once you start stacking these actions, something powerful happens. You stop just surviving the workplace, you start innovating. Which leads us to the final shift: embracing your unique value and turning imposter feelings into fuel for growth. Here's the truth most professionals don't realize. Imposter syndrome is often a sign that you're stretching into new territory. Feeling like an imposter means you're pushing past your comfort zone. stepping into challenges where growth happens. Instead of seeing it as a weakness, what if you reframed it as proof that you're evolving? Think of the innovators you admire, people who changed industries, built movements, or transformed teams. They weren't confident every step of the way. Many of them admitted to wrestling with self-doubt. The difference is they didn't let those feelings stop them. They used that discomfort as a signal that they were breaking new ground. This is where you turn the narrative. Instead of asking, "Do I belong here?" start asking, "What unique perspective do I bring to this room?" Your value isn't in being flawless. It's in bringing your lived experiences, your skills, and your way of thinking. No one else has walked your exact path, which means no one else can contribute in the exact way you can. That's your advantage. A powerful exercise is to identify your signature strengths. Psychologists Martin Seligman and Christopher Peterson developed a framework called VIA Character Strengths, which highlights 24 universal traits like creativity, perseverance, and leadership. By identifying your top strengths, you begin to see the distinct ways you already add value, often unconsciously. When you lead from those strengths, the imposter story loses its grip. Here's the micro-challenge. For the next week, each time you feel self-doubt, flip the question. Instead of, "Why am I not good enough?" ask, "What strength can I bring to this situation right now?" This shift turns fear into fuel and positions you as a contributor, not a pretender. And remember this, imposter thoughts may never fully disappear, but they don't have to. The goal isn't to silence them completely. It's to learn how to move forward even when they whisper. That's what separates those who stay stuck from those who grow into leaders and innovators. So, let's bring it all together. Imposter syndrome may be a silent struggle, but it doesn't define you. By understanding the psychology behind self-doubt, rewriting your inner dialogue, taking small confident actions, and embracing your unique strengths, you can transform those feelings into momentum. If this video resonated with you, I'd love to hear in the comments. Have you ever struggled with imposter syndrome? And what strategies have helped you? And if you're ready to keep growing, hit that subscribe button, share this with someone who needs it, and remember, you don't have to wait until you feel ready. You already have everything you need to step into your value today.